This is a special meeting of council respecting the proposed 2022 budget. This document has been posted to the municipal website since Friday, November the 5th, and was circulated to municipal council on that day for their review and comments. The purpose of this special meeting is for the Central Elgin Council to have full and open discussion on the proposed 2022 budget. Does any member of council have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. I'm going to now introduce you to Archana Gupta-Harrit, who's our Director of Finance, Treasurer. She's going to...
Drum roll.
Sorry.
Archana, can you mute yours? There you go.
And the process to date. All directors are in attendance to answer any questions that may arise. Go ahead, Archana.
Thank you so much, Mayor. All the council members, the CEO.
Turn mine off here then too.
Is everybody muted?
And my colleagues, thank you for this morning coming in here and also for the opportunity to present the budget this year. We are on slide 2. It's on your Zoom meeting invite. So we are providing you an overview of the budget process that we follow and followed by the council's strategic priorities, which we have focused on while preparing the budget. And also we will show you the proposed tax levy that was in November and then some budget updates that we have done since, and then also the impact of proposed levy. Moving on to slide 3. We started this budget process in July of 2021. This is the first time multi-year budget for Central Elgin, which is a 2-year budget. So the first one is the 2022, which we are seeking the approval for, and the 2023 would be basically as a part of approved in principle, but then we will also go back into the deliberation next year when the time comes. So the multi-year budget plan is in accordance with the Central Elgin strategic plan and council directions. In September 2021, each of my colleagues worked on their own budget, developing a budget for their departments, and now that has been comprehensively consolidated into one. In November 2021, we posted the 2-year budget, and question and query period was there. We did attend multiple queries from the council members, and we worked on that. And today we are here for the budget and deliberations. On to slide 4. So this one is talking about the council strategic priorities that council had developed as per our strategic plan, which is strong local economy, sustainable community, conservation and appreciation of natural environment, adequate, sustainable and affordable infrastructure, and good governance. All these 4 pillars have been considered while developing the budget. Moving on to slide 5. When we posted the budget in November, on the November 6th, we had proposed a 0.5 tax rate increase to basically help Central Elgin with 16.5 million tax levy. And the picture on the side shows or deliberates the net expenditure to various service areas. If we see the next slide, the tax impact, the proposed levy of 0.5 would have shown the impact like below in the table that you see. It would be on the median current value assessments we have considered, and these figures are derived from the Minister of Finance online property tax analysis Opta system, and these are based on that. Please note that the 2022 capital budget, this particular one does not include the bridge capital contribution of 488,000 $529 as a contemplated option from the Bridge and Preferred Asset Management Plan. If council seeks to modify the levy closer to inflation, the inclusion of this is recommended. Moving on to slide 7. Since November 6th, there have been some deliberations, and we have worked on increasing the tax levy. And the updated proposed 2022 tax levy for Central London is 16.8 million, resulting in a tax rate increase of 1.72%. And it's same the CVA, average CVA we have taken, and it shows how much tax implication on the average property would be. I thank you all for taking time, and now I'll ask for any questions if you have on budget, and we can move from there. Thank you, everyone.
Questions for Archana? Or any staff member? I assume most of you, because we were given this well ahead of time, many of you, I'm sure, called in and came in and discussed various budget items with staff. I know I did. Deputy Mayor Marks?
Just to comment, to give my thanks. I really enjoyed it, or was pleased with it anyway. I haven't so much, you could pick it up and read it for half an hour whenever you had a break and kind of refresh. I really like it. And if there isn't a lot of questions today, because we had time to get answers. For instance, the $100,000 for parking machines kind of caught my eye right away, but when you had the explanation that they're going to last for 10 years and pay for itself, to me, that's a good investment. So we may not discuss those things, but anything in the budget that kind of caught my eye like that, we had the opportunity to get answered. So I appreciated that, trying to kind of swallow the whole thing in one go. So I'm very pleased with it. So thank you for that. And thank all staff for that.
It was certainly a team effort.
Yes, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Archana, maybe you could explain the change, the new recommended, what was added? Was it the asset management for the bridges? Is that what changed
That's
rate?
exactly the $488,000 that was on screen 7. So that was the net increase if we added that to the, sorry.
Go ahead.
And in support of Archana, following the posting of the budget, the municipality received its final impact control totals, which is our total assessment base. Councillor Wynn provided the updated CPAC budget, which resulted in a reduction in 30,000 from what was originally provided. And then the municipality tendered insurance, which will come to council for consideration at the next meeting, but resulted in a $130,000 reduction in expenditures from what was planned. So those were incorporated in to arrive at the 1.72 rate and the 16.8 levy.
Councillor Rowe and then Councillor Fair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just curious if any additional revenue was added, or was it just the expense that was considered to get to the 1.7? So is there an opportunity to get it between something less than 1.7, such as the parking revenue?
Madam Mayor, at this point in time, potential updated revenues from the new rates and fees bylaw have not been fully incorporated into this budget. With the kind of holistic review of all expenditures, the staff took that pretty close to the bone, and we're hoping to have that little bit there just in case there was any skeleton still in the closet that needed to be fleshed out. So those additional revenues have not at this time been incorporated in. For example, on the parking machines, with the variable market, we're unsure of the total capital cost for all those machines to replace existing and procure new ones.
Councillor Fair.
I just wanted, I can't seem to pull it up on my screen here, but on the wastewater, it showed $500,000 going in. I thought, I know we have to have a reserve. I thought the reserve was, we had to build that back up to $1 million reserve was in the water. And I'm just wondering with the wastewater, that 500,000, why that was in there. And I got my phone here, but
Page 19, I believe, is what you're talking.
In the wastewater budget.
You, Madam Mayor, we'll put that on screen so that council can speak to that. Through you, Madam Mayor, in 2020, it shows a reserve transfer of 264,000 to the wastewater reserve.
Councillor Fair, are you still?
I'll look for it, but it was a $500,000 figure and I had a note on it. And
I just passed it too, sorry.
One of the questions that I had was the fact that we weren't recommending the dog park at this point. And I did ask staff are going to look at an area on the south side of I agree, I don't want the dog park beside the naturalized areas and that the field naturalists and all those have worked on. But there is a woods on the south side of the property that we could look at that. And we're going to look at that later. It's not going to be in the budget at this point, but we are going to look at that and see if we can get some other funding and some shared costs, et cetera, to make that feasible, because it's been requested for quite a long time, a dog park in the south. So it would be nice to be able to do that. So just in case anyone read or is listening in, they know that we're still going to be looking at it. It's not included at the moment in the budget. I just wanted to also give you a heads up. The new Conservation Authorities Act, and Councillor Kravitz will be fully aware of this as well. They have downloaded several more mandated programs to the conservation authorities. And they're expecting municipalities to pick up the cost of those because the province is still cutting their support, but they're adding more mandated programs. And they're saying that municipalities will have to pay for it. And I know at Catfish, it's 76,353.29 new things in mandated programs that were not covered. Now, we're not changing our budget. The budget is as we requested, but just a heads up that this is coming, and we have somehow the conservation authorities are going to have to figure out how to raise money, and the provincial government is basically saying, take it out of levies. It's where it should come. And to me, that's just downloading onto the municipalities again. They've mandated the programs, but they're not going to pay for them. So that's just a heads up. I was concerned about the parking as well and did speak to Mr. Shipway about parking, because I know when we instituted the parking at the beach, it was to help offset all the costs at the beach. And so when it said it was breaking even, that concerned me, but they're actually putting the money into capital costs at the beach. But I would like the new parking that we have approved, we haven't put down income. We've just put down costs, as Councillor Rowe inquired. So we only have the costs there. We don't know what the income will be. What are we planning to do with the income from the new parking areas? Staff have any ideas there? Mr. Shipway?
To you, Madam Mayor. The intent would be to attempt to procure the parking meters. The tender is out right now, and we're curious what the delivery date will be on those. And then we'll be able to assess once we know the cost of those. And the original consideration by the user fee committee was that once those revenues come in, to utilize those to offset some operating expenses going forward for the beach, but ultimately council would have to determine that. And because of the unknown, staff have not incorporated that for 2022. And it would be something that we would seek council direction on heading into the 2023 budget.
Thank you. Just one comment on the capital, the profit at the moment from the parking that we already have in the beach and the boat ramp area. That parking money you were saying was going into capital for the beach. And can you tell me, does that what costs, what capital items do we incur from the beach besides the beach cleaner, obviously? Mr. Barron?
I can speak to historically. So historically, that parking revenue went to construct the concrete boardwalks along Main Beach. It went into construction of the playground equipment on Main Beach. Some of that revenue was also utilized for parking, actually, all of the parking meters that were acquired the second round, the ones that we are replacing now were acquired into that capital money as well. So.
Okay. Do we have a reserve, a capital reserve right now for the beaches that has come from that? It's got, all right, you've got the reserve up there. Page is that just?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's the final page of the budget, page 155.
Thank you.
And following council direction a few months ago, there is the paid parking reserve right here that's showing 124,000 projected year-end balance.
Thank you. I'm not seeing terribly well on the screen. Is just small enough with my eyesight. It's not great. Thank you very much. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you. So I'm just going to go back to an earlier question, comment, I guess. So just to be clear, the budget that we were emailed back in November is exactly the same as the one that's presented today, except for the 488 for the asset management is added.
And
And
the MPEC amounts that
And the-
Mr. Shipwell talked about of 131, right? That has been reduced because of the MPEC new assessments that came in. And also the insurance, because we were valuing it a little bit higher. So that has been also reduced in expenditures. And then the CPAC budget was reduced approximately 30,000. So there are three additional things that have happened.
so 488 minus 131 minus 30, more or less.
Through you, Madam Mayor,
ahead.
plus new assessment that
Right.
was provided in our book, but procedurally, for absolute clarity, the budget you're looking at on the screen today and the budget that's posted on the website is the exact budget that was posted November 6th. Staff are advising of those things that have happened. And for council consideration, staff had prepared a resolution to amend the budget to incorporate the updated impact control totals, the bridge capital, if it's the will of council, the reduction in CPAC and the reduction in insurance. And then that would change that. And assuming today council provides direction to approve in principle and provide notice, then we would make those changes. But because it was posted, staff did not feel that we should make changes to said budget until council provided the direction to do that.
So,
Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
so the net change to the budget from November is $327,000 in expenses. Is that approximately right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, could Ms. Arruda provide the exact dollar figure, please?
So for those adjustments that we were just discussing, the net is a net change of $327,719, and that does not include the assessment change, which was 0.5. 131,733.24. So be a net change to the budget of $459,452.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Rowe, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Fair.
Thank you. So for the asset management, the 488, I believe it was referenced earlier that there were sort of three options. It could either go into the tax levy in full. What were the other two options? And was the decision then obviously to put it all in the tax levy?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there was three options, inclusion of the total amount, incremental with half of it in 2022, moving to the full amount in 2023, or a loan moving forward. Mr. Perrin can speak in more detail specifically, but on a holistic level, understanding the coming impacts for future years with the increased impact totals and the reduction in expenditures, staff wanted to present this to council for consideration with the full amount included, knowing that there are additional damps coming next year.
Finish, if you want to finish that one up before.
It's a different question.
Oh, okay, then I'm going to let Councillor Fair, he had,
On the other one, I did find what I wanted. In the roads, we've got about $200,000 for gravel on gravel roads. And I know the gravel roads cost a lot more to maintain annually. Is there any, I couldn't see anything in here are there any that are going to be paved or resurfaced? So, because we've been eliminating gravel roads an awful lot. I'm wondering, is there anything in here that some roads in the next year or so will be paved so we won't have as much gravel? I know it's still minimal, but I'm wondering if there's some.
Jeff.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll
go
respond to
ahead, Mr. Brooks.
Councillor Fair's question. In 2022, there will be no gravel roads converted to a double surface treatment. So that 200,000 that you see in the capital there, that is to put 4 inches of new gravel on existing gravel roads.
You want to follow up?
Well, still in regards to this one's a bit of a different question on the Front Street. I know it was done, it lasted for years, that bank coverage or repair. I'm wondering with the one that we're doing now, we're talking a lot of money there. Any estimate on the life of that once all the bank reinforcing and stuff is done? Any kind of an idea of what kind of a life that will have yet?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Fair, I don't have an exact lifespan on that, but recognizing that the existing bin walls were put in the 70s and 80s and are in excellent condition, I would fully expect that these new bin walls that we're going to construct have a life expectancy in to exceed 60 years.
So given that, would it be an idea to, instead of just paying it in a budget, to finance that over a longer term for some reduction in costs? I'm just wondering if we did a bit of a long-term financing on that project.
I'll defer that to.
Yeah, Mr. Shipway will speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point, staff have been cognizant of our debt capacity and attempting to not utilize that. If you look at the major reconstructions going forward, the majority of the municipality has had their roads reconstructed, with the exception being Port Stanley and the significant storm sewer work. So I think you could look at this capital contribution and continue looking forward that there would be something similar moving forward on an annual basis. And when you think about pressing priorities, incurring additional debt at this time isn't something that staff have considered strongly just because of our current debt load.
Okay, now, Councillor Wynn, you had a question. I'm sorry, there is construction outside.
Oh, no, I didn't have my.
You didn't? Okay, I thought you had your hand up earlier. Councillor Rowe?
Thank you. I was just curious, hearing insurance keeps going up and up and up, if there was a ballpark number of how much the insurance increase has impacted this particular budget.
It's a decrease.
Down.
We're lucky, they tendered it and it's coming in at a
Okay.
slower rate.
That's not what I was understanding, so that's
Yeah,
good to know.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just for absolute clarity, staff were budgeting a 30% increase year over year to 545,000 is what's within this budget spread out across all the different service areas. And it came in when tendered $130,000 below that. So
Wow, okay.
yeah, so it, the difficulty is that it could be a new company attempting to obtain our business, and it'll be a year over year review, and hopefully the market starts to change and things settle out. But at this point, it's a reduction in what's presented here by 130,000.
And that's already part of the 427 that was mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and just for clarity, it's actually 327. Because it was
327.
yeah, 327.
Yep.
Councillor Fair.
In regards to the water meters, there's, again, I don't have it right in front of me, but there's $850,000 for water meter replacement and going to start in 2023. I'm wondering, the 850,000, are we in 2022? Are we going to be buying all the water meters and just storing or acquiring them during 2022? And because it's going to be a major project to redo these. I'm just wondering, are we?
Mr. Brooks?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, we will not be purchasing the water meters in 2022. The water meters will be split into two phases, one in the first phase in 2023, and we will purchase all the water meters to be installed in 2023 in 2023. As well, when we do phase 2 in 2024, the other half of the water meters will be purchased. And I'd like to add a little further, there is a shortage of water meters in supply right now, so we likely wouldn't be able to purchase that many water meters in the near future.
So what is the
near future?
So what is the 850,000 then in the budget showing for it?
On 850.
What page is that on?
Page, through you, Madam Mayor, page 144, and it's a 2023 capital item though. It's presented for informational purposes, as Mr. Brooks mentioned, so that would start 2023.
Thank you. Mr. Kravitz, Councillor Kravitz, sorry.
Mr. Marchana, could you pull up that slide that you showed earlier with the 488 included for the tax purposes?
That'll be Karen, I think, has to, that's in the,
Oh, I think you had that on your presentation, you had that. Oh,
On the sharing screen.
oh, it's Paul with it. Okay.
It's right there.
it's just hard to see there.
Yeah, it is hard to see. I'm not the only one with.
2799.
So that's. Yeah, 37.99. That's not show, that's showing a 1.72% increase. That includes the 488 for the bridge and culvert. And I think that's something that we should seriously look at as a council. It's something we don't want to get behind the 8 ball on. And I actually feel comfortable at that 1.72%. It's doing roughly a $38 increase per assessed value of 269. So something I'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. It must be hard to determine what the average assessed value is. The rate things have been changing.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the tax department has access to that ministry portal, so it actually puts out the report real time for us. So those are directly from the ministry system, and that's how we present those. And with the province eliminated and phase in and test assessment for a few more years, it's really just, you know, one for one. The only reason your assessment would change is if you've done a betterment to your home or sold your home.
Or bought a new home. Yes, yes, go ahead. Deputy Mayor Marks, sorry.
Thinking out loud, budgets are your best guess. And, with COVID, I'm thinking more to our arenas and our playgrounds and recreation. they probably are still quite volatile. You know, hopefully the ice stays in the whole year and things like that, but we really don't know. So it's, we have to keep that in the back of our minds. Certainly the performance of the arenas the last 2 years has been distorted through no fault of anyone other than COVID. So just kind of thinking out loud that it's still there and we really don't know.
Certainly, there's been a real decrease in income from our arenas. That makes a big difference. Not that they ever break even, but they're paying for less than they used to. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
Thank you. Just a comment, merely a comment, just to say I spent quite a bit of time with staff, mainly the CAO, I guess, and had numerous questions, all got answered to my satisfaction. So without going into all of the gory details, I too am happy with the 1.7%. It's $38 per household per year. It should be manageable. I certainly can't speak on behalf of every resident, but there is a lot of I guess, of the numbers, and the work that's gone into it behind the scenes is greatly appreciated. I guess I would have just preferred to have truly a cause of change on here, so it was very clear in the presentation what we were sent versus what is being presented today. Otherwise, it would have been, I wouldn't have had to ask some of the questions. So a nice cause of change would be, I think, much more beneficial. Thank you.
Councillor Fair.
On the wastewater one, it's on page 131. It says wastewater 4 million for total cost and then 500,000 in reserve. That's coming out of reserve? I thought we didn't have a reserve.
Through you, Madam Mayor, wastewater has a reserve. Water is in a deficit position right now.
Okay, that clears it up. I was back and forth between the wastewater and the other.
Yeah, no, water.
Yeah.
Water was the one that did have a good reserve, and it was water that is in debt and will be for.
Okay, that's the one that I was looking for, and I thought it was water, but it was a line down.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
Thank you. Just for the public's information, is there any summary that exists of what the historical tax rate changes have been year on year that could be published just for reference?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we have that information on the website already, is the annual tax rates under tax, but however, on the Let's Talk page after this, we can include a chart for public consumption, which summarizes those in one chart. But we will present it as the tax rate change. Just there can be issue with talking about levy versus rate. So we will put the tax rate change with the disclaimer that the municipality does not control assessed value. So 2018 and 19 did have phase in, but we can include that on the Let's Talk page. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's very important that they realize too, that there is a county, that this is our levy. This is our tax rate increase, but there is the county one which will affect their taxes as well. And it hasn't been finalized. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Procedurally, we have two resolutions prepared for council consideration because of the way this is done through council. But one of them is to formally direct staff to incorporate the impact control totals and those changes. And then the second would be the one you're familiar with historically, when you provide us direction to issue notice in accordance with the notice bylaw. Ms. Wilson has those. If you're ready to consider those, we do have those.
The first thing I was going to do, though, is I was just going to ask Mrs. Wilson if she had received any correspondence from the public or any questions came in.
Madam Mayor, to date, no correspondence has been received from any member of the public.
Thank you. Okay, now you have some resolutions. You need movers and seconders.
Read out as a draft.
Yeah, read it out as a draft and then people can decide if they're willing to move that or not.
Motion reads that the council of the corporation of the municipality of Central Island direct staff to amend the November 6, 2021 budget to reflect the December 6, 2021 budget updates, inclusive of updated impact control totals, bridge capital contribution in the amount of $488,529, CPAC expense reductions in the amount of $30,110, and insurance expense reductions in the amount of $130,700.
Is there someone who'd like to move that motion? Councillor Kravitz and Councillor Rowe. Go ahead.
Procedurally, if Councillor Cook is on the call.
Perrin, is Councillor Cook on the call?
No.
Have to do a recording.
Then you don't have to do a recorded vote. All right. All those in favor of the motion? See, it's unanimous, so there's no one opposed. And the second motion, then, if you would read it, just, and then, or do you want to, I mean, I think it's fairly straightforward. It's to ask them to bring it as a line item and notification, et cetera. So,
Through you, Madam Mayor, if it's the will of council, it would be nice if Ms. Wilson could read that, just so everyone's aware of what it says.
certainly.
I'm having a hard time hearing when that thing's going. I'm sorry.
That the council of the corporation of the municipality of Central Island approve in principle the 2022 budget with a 1.72% rate increase, and that staff be directed to prepare the necessary bylaws respecting the adoption of the 2022 budget, and further that staff be directed to issue notice of council's intention to pass the 2022 budget in accordance with the notice bylaw.
Okay, now is there a mover?
Just a
Sorry, go ahead.
question. The 1.72, should we use that number or should we use the increase of the 469, 452, the actual number instead of the 1.72?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the rate is the 1.72 and that incorporates those changes. So that would be what we'd be looking for is the 1.72.
Okay, that's the case. That's fine.
A mover? I've got Councillor Wynn and Deputy Mayor Marks. All in favor? That is carried and unanimously. I just want to thank staff. This has been probably the easiest budget thing we've ever had because I really appreciated having everything 4 weeks ahead of time. I had lots of time, as Councillor Farrar said, you could do a certain section each day or every so often. And I know I asked questions initially of the staff and then I've talked to Mr. Shipway several times since. It really helped us get all the questions out, get answers to all the things that we needed. So this is probably the easiest this is my 15th budget, 16th possibly. It is my 16th budget that I've dealt with. It's been by far the easiest budget to deal with. And I certainly very much appreciate that. And Archana, I commend you.
Teamwork. Everybody did their own budget.
I know, but it does take someone to guide them through it too.
Thank you.
Councillor Wynn.
Again, in 7 budgets, this was fantastic. So yes, I feel the same way, but I also had heard from a couple ratepayers who actually went on and read it and felt exactly the same way too. So I think that's one of the best things. It's great for us that it's laid out so wonderfully, but I think for our ratepayers to be able to see something like this, that's fantastic. So thank you to everybody involved. So.
Very good. Any other comments? Councillor Farrar?
I just wanted to say when I was looking it over, compared to the last couple, I've only been involved with a couple budgets, but compared to the last ones, I went back to the one 2 years ago with about 400 pages of foldouts and everything. And then I went back to last year's and this one, it's embarrassing. I didn't have a lot of questions. But it was really, really nice. I liked how it was explained, and it actually makes sense and fits in. There's some little things here and there that there were so many lines in it. I missed one line, went down a line, but it seems to be built very, very well from the base up, as opposed to prior budgets. To try and find where the numbers came from was always a struggle. And so yes, I was very happy with how it was.
If
Go ahead, Deputy.
I may, just a comment. Whenever we explain to our residents, Central Alberta is a huge geographic area, sort of low population, all the services we provide, and we always sort of finish up with very little commercial, very little industrial base. I have the feeling, we've the foreign Ford lands have been redeveloped, and it's actually pretty amazing what's happening there. Back in 2007 and 8, when all the factories closed and all the stuff, we're finally, maybe, I think there's some optimism there. And when Mr. York took that designation off the Highway 3 bypass, I'm still believing in Santa Claus. I think good things are going to come. Maybe our opportunity. This is a pretty good, well-run municipality. But if we had some more commercial and increase our tax base, the whole region's going to benefit. So I'm hopeful for the future.
Thank you. The comments, Councillor Kravitz.
I just wanted to comment on the budget, the way it was presented as well. It was very easy to contact staff, and the consultation that I had prior to today's meeting, it made the budget process very easy to follow through. And it was nice seeing the layout stating resolutions that this council had made within the budget. So any public that wants to read this budget, I think it's very self-explanatory. So thanks again to all the staff.
Go ahead.
There was one other comment I wanted to make. It was nice. I shouldn't keep bad, but it was nice to see that we actually know now where our reserves are. And I particularly like the one with showing the roughly 2.5 million in the harbor divestiture fund there, and showing how the interest is being used. Because when I saw some of the expenses, and it says they're coming off the investment income. So we're not eroding that, because we do need to keep that for future dredging and so on. So it was nice to actually see where the reserves really are.
Yeah, and that is something in the past we used to get. And I mean, I was shocked at the non-transparent thing before about the reserves. So, because it is very important that we know what reserves we have. Okay, well, final motion, Mrs. Wilson. You need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. Deputy Mayor Marks and Councillor Wynn.
Motion reads, Madam Mayor, moved by Deputy Mayor Marks, seconded by Councillor Lind, that the special meeting of council dated Monday, December 6th, 2021, be adjourned at 10:44 a.m.
All in favor? And that carries. Fastest budget meeting we have ever had.
Ever.
It's usually at least 2 meetings.